I call myself Dr. Hlophe because I have a doctorate in law. Nobody will take that away from me. Even Cyril Ramaphosa will never take that away from me. He took away the title of a judge, but that I'm Dr. Hlophe, he will never take it.
The reason why he was removed from office was particularly because of a misunderstanding or misinterpretation of a Zulu phrase saying "sekusezandleni zenu." I don't know why the judges failed to understand that from its a Zulu context as opposed to taking it literally. That is what then brought Hlophe to where he is, and therefore the MK party is giving him a lifeline, particularly because he lost his job because he was seen to be close to the current leader of the MK party, that is former President Jacob Zuma.
All right, just a caveat as we continue.
What played out yesterday, unprecedented, and also listening to your remarks during the voting or just ahead of the voting, is that Judge President John Hlophe had an illustrious career. The youngest judge to be appointed in the Western Cape High Court, also the youngest judge president. And here's somebody who was appointed directly from academia to the bench.
Yeah, look, Judge President Hlophe had everything going for him. He's very well educated. He has a very strong academic background. He was appointed straight to the bench from academia, as you say, and he had a whole string of the youngest of everything. So he had, every opportunity to have a really stellar judicial career. He could have made a real impact, as everyone expected him to do. Mm-hmm. It's very unfortunate that his career has ended up this way, but he has no one to blame but himself.
Yeah. Would you say, looking back at the history of Judge John Hlophe as well, if you look, for instance, at some of the complaints that have been lodged against him, outside of this particular complaint by Bessie Ngabinde as well as Chris Jafta, that there had been moments where there were red flags that the Judicial Service Commission should have acted on that would have avoided us even getting to this particular stage?
Well, absolutely. His career was a controversial one. There were many controversies, both personal and professional, and he just never managed to live up to the very stringent, very stringent requirements for being a judge. When one wants to, be elevated to the bench and sit in judgment of other people, you're held to a much higher standard than other people, and that's unfortunately the way it has to be. And so you have to live an exemplary personal life. You have to live an exemplary professional life, and there's no room for anything to fall between the cracks.
Yesterday, with your remarks before the National Assembly, before the vote took place, you termed what is taking place as a concoction of racism. What do you base this allegation on?
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners, Aldrin. It is indeed, because we know Judge Hlophe is the first judge to work in the Western Cape to compile a report on racism and what was happening in the Western Cape. He was never forgiven for that, actually. So he has been hunted down since then. And we've seen with how he was treated. Judge Hlophe, he was exonerated in around 2009. But then they had to make sure that they bring back the matter through the DA. The Premier of the Western Cape brought the matter back to court. And after that, the matter was dealt with. They had to even establish a tribunal, and the tribunal had to deal with the matter de novo, and they had a finding against him. So those are racist tendencies. And he's punished for, investigating racism, and he's punished for engaging with his colleagues and counterparts, and even using his language. It means if you speak to your colleagues and say, that you will do the work. it means they don't even trust themselves, those people, to be influenced by a person. I mean, surely there was nowhere where they could prove that he said to them, this is how you should be writing your judgments, this is how you should be dealing with the matter. That's so wrong.
He did not respond on time, and it so happened that obviously the media will pick up such things, and we find ourselves here. But it is an internal letter that I was sending to the president to say, President, I think whatever that is happening, it is the reason behind the messages that I received, and I had denied that the deputy president the opportunity to be able to speak to me further than the way he did.
Yeah.
And indeed, I could tell that it did not sit well with them.
You're now coming out with this publicly. If John Hlophe decides to come after you legally, are you prepared to go to court to prove your claims of sexual harassment against him?
That will be much better. The reason why we took MK to court is because of the allegations and the propaganda that I've misappropriated funds in Mkhento Wesizwe. I've created internal disgruntled members, or I have created instability within the political party. We went to court. 2 lawyers have withdrawn. The 3rd lawyer has been referred to by Dr. Judge Hlophe. And that tells me that 2 lawyers cannot say, we cannot be able to take this case. And the 3rd lawyer says, the letter coming from Dr. John Hlophe says, you need to pursue this case when they could not appeal on time. It tells you very clear that even if he goes to court, I think it will be interesting because it will assist a lot of women with the attacks that already they are sending out to say, why were you quiet? You know, why you did not report it on time? You know, people will always put in a time frame into something that is not funny. This is not funny. Women need to be able to speak out, and leaders of any organization must be able to say, hold on, why are we here?
Yeah.
He must be suspended with immediate effect. The way he wanted me to be suspended with allegations that do not exist, he needs to be suspended with immediate effect.
The reality is this is a political judgment, blatantly so. Even if you look at the fact that the Judicial Service Commission, as per Section 178, is set up merely for the purpose of identifying judges who are fit and proper. Now, who better suited than Dr. Hlophe to represent our constituency, South Africans, in identifying through 25, 28 years of experience. He's got a doctorate, and he's been a judge, you know, in terms of whether a person is fit and proper or not. So with regards to his competence, you can't question that. The issue of which they're trying to use morality, I mean, the DA are the last people to speak about morality. The DA today have people, and what they actually represent is racism, and they're formed off the back of murders. They murdered our people. These are people that represent, you know, individuals and thugs and thieves who came here as visitors and killed our people. That's who the DA is, and they're in government today. And they want to speak about morality. They have members who are racist, who sit in committees, you know, the likes of Ian Cameron. Those people are racist. They are racist. But yet, you know, we want to speak about them having morals, and they want to point fingers at other people having morals. Well, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, that will not fly. The reality is this judicial system is captured. And if you look at Batwa himself, look at the string of cases and the case that he has presided over, the issue of the rogue unit. I mean, his finding was that there's no rogue unit, Pravin's rogue unit. But all the facts were there. You know, Tom Moyane and the Hawks at the time in the NPA presented a case that was clear, that indeed there is a rogue unit. So that's just the reality of what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a captured judicial system. Every single time when either Mkhonto Wesizwe or anything that goes against the Cyril Ramaphosa ANC or this government, it's always going to be questioned. The same thing as what happened with regards to the Section 47 1E.
Let's remove the...
When we spoke about the issue of separation of powers in terms of National Assembly and President Zuma being part of the National Assembly versus being the candidate on the IEC candidate list. That was also used again. So clearly, for MK, there's Zuma laws and there's Hlophe laws.
I was suspended following that.
Are you suspended?
I took voluntary suspension. I was off the bench for 18 months. Helen Zille claimed that she is the Premier of the Western Cape. She did not participate. She did not sit on the judiciary. Based on that technicality and others, the thing started all over again. It is unconscionable, unheard of in any civilized world that a person can be suspended for two separate occasions in respect of the same.
There was a time that Helen Zille said people are immigrants
Yes.
if you come to the Western Cape.
I'm sure she was referring to me and others. But in case after case, wherever you go, you see poverty, you see naked children, dusty roads, it's all over. That, to me, is clear evidence that those areas, nothing has happened in terms of development after 30 years. And as far as socio-economic conditions, black people and Africans in particular are still far from being satisfied. You still have some of our clinics, for instance, healthcare facilities. You still have lots of communities where clinics would close at 4 o'clock during the day.
Reports of women giving birth
That's right.
just outside the clinics.
That is not to say they have done nothing. They have done something, but in 30 years, with all due respect, they should have done far more than what they have done. Why was EFF born? It was again the issue of land and transformation of the key sectors of the economy. Section 300 of the Criminal Procedure Act provides that any property which is the proceed of crime may be forfeited. They were given land, whereas our fathers were given bicycles and torches.
That we need to expropriate land without compensation.
But I think, unfortunately, we've been borrowing a lot of money in this country of late. Are we being fooled again, right? Or is this party capable of delivering on its promises? My concern is there are too many small parties. South African politics, there is a lot of pride in some of our leaders. It is my hope that South Africans are going to go out there in large numbers and vote. Firstly, they must go to register to vote. But I predict there will be lots of coalitions, and it is my hope that South Africans are going to go out there in large numbers and vote.
Stand up! Former Mpumalanga MK convener, Mary Pardee, is accusing the party's deputy president, John Hlophe, of making unwanted sexual advances. In a letter circulating on social media, she claims to have been vilified and victimized for turning him down. Mary Pardee joins us in studio tonight to talk about her claims of sexual harassment. Ms. Pardee, thank you very much for your time. Very serious accusation, and particularly for a country that's been gripped in the last few days, watching the Judicial Conduct Tribunal against the Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge. And here are yet more claims from another woman in South Africa. Talk to us about your story. What has happened here?
I think it was caused by the sequence of events, because it all started in August, and because of that reason, one is trying to understand as to what could be the escalating propaganda and attacks that one gets within a political party. I had to go to court to clear my name. Hence, the convener and reinstated in my position as a convener, as well as the party leader in the legislature. But if you look at what has been happening, one can wonder as to, is that the reason why I have denied the deputy president an opportunity to advance his interest in me? And the first letter that I received, it was from him. The beginning of August, we met. Before the end of August, already I was receiving a letter that says that I should give reasons why I should not be withdrawn as a party leader.
So there are two things here, and I would like for them to be separated, because your position in Mpumalanga as the MK party convener, you are telling us here today that you are still the convener of the MK party. We'll talk about that at the end. We'd like to deal with the sexual harassment claims. What can you prove? What is it that you can put on the table and say, this is what John Hlophe said to me, and this I view as an attempt at trying to get me to sleep with him?
You know, I don't have to prove anything because it is personal, and the messages that he has sent to me are the ones that can be able to prove that. I don't have to sit on the table and say, I'm trying to convince you, Cody, to say this had happened. Yeah. But if you read the messages, you'll be able to tell which I had denied him to meet with me, and therefore later within that month, and then you see such responses, then you now think as to why I could not write to the president earlier. It is because everything happened so fast, in such a manner that when he sent that letter of me being requested to withdraw myself on the 26th of August, he then disappeared into the picture. And then later on I received another letter which is the letter that is sitting in court, and it does not make sense in terms of the dates. But where we are seated here is that I don't have to say it myself, but I can tell you now that messages can be able to prove that. But beyond messages...
So these are messaging, these are text messages via the phone that you say you have in your possession?
The information that is there, it will assist everyone to be able to be comfortable. But because it's a personal matter, I'm happy with the fact that I'm trying to find the understanding as to exactly what is happening, and therefore I don't have to prove myself to any messages. Yeah. He can even go and do a lie detector test, then we are sorted.
You have raised this with the leader of the party, Jacob Zuma. What did he say?
He did not respond on time, and it so happened that obviously the media will pick up such things, and we find ourselves here. But it is an internal letter that I was sending to the president to say, President, I think whatever that is happening, it is the reason behind the messages that I received, and I had denied that the deputy president the opportunity to be able to speak to me further than the way he did. Yeah. And indeed, I could tell that it did not sit well with him.
You're now coming out with this publicly. If John Hlophe decides to come after you legally, are you prepared to go to court to prove your claims of sexual harassment against him?
That will be much better. The reason why we took MK to court is because of the allegations and the propaganda that I've misappropriated funds in Mkento Esizwe. I've created internal disgruntled members, or I have created instability within the political party. We went to court. 2 lawyers have withdrawn. The 3rd lawyer has been referred to by Dr. Judge Hlophe. And that tells me that 2 lawyers cannot say, we cannot be able to take this case. And the 3rd lawyer says, the letter coming from Dr. John Hlophe says, you need to pursue this case when they could not appeal on time. It tells you very clear that even if it goes to court, I think it will be interesting because it will assist a lot of women with the attacks that already they are sending out to say, why were you quiet? You know, why you did not report it on time? You know, people who always put in a time frame into something that is not funny. This is not funny. women needs to be able to speak out, and leaders of any organization must be able to say, hold on, why are we here?
Yeah.
He must be suspended with immediate effect. The way he wanted me to be suspended with allegations that do not exist, he needs to be suspended with immediate effect. Then that will tell us that Umkhonto Wesizwe is interested to make sure that everybody's fine. But what I'm saying is that for him to get the third lawyer made me to realize that indeed he's up to something. Why should two lawyers withdraw and then the third lawyer been sent by him?
Your troubles within the MK party are well documented. And as you say, you've even had to go to court. What if the response from the MK party comes back and says, you are a disgruntled party, and therefore you have now resorted to saying that Dr. John Hlophe is harassing you sexually, and in the process, you want, at the time that you exit the stage in the MK party, the party itself must be so mired in controversy that it will automatically disappear itself. Is that, how would you respond to that kind of analysis?
It would be unfortunate. If MK can say that I'm a disgruntled member, it will be indeed unfortunate, because MK must be saying that here are the leaders that we want in MK. Here are the women that will be able to build our country. This is a woman that will be able to stand up and say no to the things that are happening to women out there in any political party. And, you know, if MK is saying that I want to be here because I want a position, they must think again. I am here because I was following a president that I followed when it was not fashionable. The president that has been implementing policies of the ANC to the T. We've seen millionaires, we've seen business people coming up, we've seen women being given, you know, an opportunity to be able to speak.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, it will be unfortunate for them to say that.
Finally, does the president that you have been following, as you say, does former President Zuma support your leadership of Mpumalanga?
Definitely.
He's expressly said that.
Definitely. If he did not support that, he wouldn't put me to be able to lead the province. And if he's not doing that, he wouldn't be quiet when we are trying to fix what is wrong within Umkhonto Wesizwe. Remember, if you've got an executive and you've got a president, there's no need for members to be able from time to time to go to the president. It is important for members to be able to respond. If I've got a clean audit with the legislature, that tells already that I cannot go to the president and say, President, by the way, I received the clean audit because I'm trying to convince the president. No, I don't have to do that. But if there's something wrong, the president would be able to say, there's a leader in Mpumalanga that is not making me happy. And at the moment, he's fully supporting me.
What should the public make then of Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, who also, it appears, claims to be a leader of the MK party in Mpumalanga?
He was announced, and she's in contempt of court, by the way. And I'm really worried because she received the letter where she was being asked that she should not continue to confuse the ground. At the moment, I think she must find a way of accepting the fact that processes were not followed correctly within MK. And if the court can be able to prove that, I don't see a reason why for her to be able to struggle and push herself into something that is not going to assist. If I was wrong within MK, MK could have appealed the case. And if I was wrong with Umkhonto Wesizwe could have just called me in to say, follow the internal processes, but nothing has happened, and I'm still here, and I'm still the member of Umkhonto Wesizwe.
Mary Paddy, thank you very much for your time, and thanks indeed for joining us in studio tonight. And if the leadership of the MK party has been listening to this discussion, it is an open platform. You are welcome to come and give us your side of the story. In fact, we've got to inform the viewers that we did reach out to the MK party ahead of this interview, And so far, the response has not been positive. But we're still hoping that the MK party will take this opportunity to respond to what Ms. Padi has had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. John Hlophe TV. Please subscribe. Bye for now till we meet again next time. Subscribe, please. Don't forget to like and to comment. Thank you very much. Dr. John Hlophe TV, Mutsonga wa Xiviri from Limpopo. Goodbye till we meet again next time. Subscribe.